Alexander, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, certainly. So I'm Alexander. I'm originally from Germany, now in Zurich, or the little outskirts of Zurich right now. I've been a Toastmaster since 2019, I think. So compared to some of you, I'm just a baby here. I think some of you got the DTM even before I was born. But I
This
found it
last night as well.
I found it an incredible journey. I've done various roles in the clubs and at the district level. And this year, I'm sort of stepping down a little bit from the official roles and making an appearance here and there, doing a few things. And I hope we can have a nice dialogue during this workshop. So it's not just work, but also fun.
Thank you, Alexander. You ready to start your workshop?
I'm ready to start if you have completed all the formalities.
Yeah, absolutely. They all completed. So it's all over to you.
All right. Let me share my screen so you also have something visual to go along as I speak here. But I hope really this is a two-way conversation. I hope we also get to do some group activities. If possible, please turn on your cameras. So I understand there are a few people who are on this call, but I don't have them on the screen. I think you can raise your hand and it should somehow come then to my attention if you want to say something or just make yourself known here. What I want to talk about today is about leadership and club engagement. I think many of us are pushed into the EC roles or offered an opportunity and then we do it for the first time. Don't really have an idea what it's all about, or at some point we are on the EC and many new people joined the club and this is great, but then also they have to work somehow in the system, figure out what is Toastmasters about, and there's always an individual journey. It's not a recipe to follow to be a good president. The times change. The people in your club are all different. We have, I don't know how many nationalities present here in this meeting. So there's always some best practices to take along, but also it's a lot about working with people, putting a group together. And I want to present a new framework today to think about a little bit, and maybe you also have something to take home for your own club. So the idea is igniting the spirit. How can you get people to participate in your club, in the activities that you're doing, provide learning opportunities, and so on. So what to expect for today in the next roughly 45 minutes is a little bit of input. I want to talk a little bit how I came to understand some leadership opportunities and not so much tools, but a way of thinking about how to be a good leader. I want to then invite you to a discussion on what's working well in your clubs and what we can learn from each other and which opportunities there are that you might have overlooked in your club, or maybe you have found something that others have not seen or tried out yet, and then give you some time to develop or discuss some ideas to take home to your club, talk with your EC about, with your members, and hopefully that's of use to you. We already started with the short introduction round, and I don't want to repeat too much. We heard from all of you what you are doing at your club, which roles you have. But I want to ask you the question, what is leadership for you? So it's a little bit a table topics session. You don't get any timing cards, but please keep it brief. If you can keep it under a minute, just a few seconds, that'd be great. I see something like 13 people on the screen. So if we go for a minute or 2 minutes each, the session is over. And I have some metaphoric cards with you. I would go, everybody I have on screen, give them the opportunity to briefly say what comes to mind when you think about leadership and try to connect it to one of the cards. There are no right or wrong answers here. So here are a few things that might relate to leadership. Just pick one and briefly explain what you think this might have to do with leadership. I would go across the way. I see you in the gallery here on the screen. So Arun, you are first one.
Thank you. I think leadership is that lifting a heavy load, to be the one that is able to manage that most people can give a helping hand lifting this load and lift it simultaneously. So you work together and achieve the goal.
Mm-hmm. Is there any picture you would connect it to?
Not here.
Not here. All right. The next I see on my screen is Alexander.
I would pick 34. I think for me, leadership is creating an atmosphere where you can throw a lot of rocks at the wall, or like try a lot of things, like create a culture where failure is an option, because that allows people to try a lot of things, and only by trying a lot of things you learn, and learn well.
Mm-hmm. So we heard about living a load, opportunities, seeing what sticks. Denise.
I would like to connect it with 74. I think leadership is giving the wings to the people to reach where they want to reach, making it easier for them for their journey to their goals, and achieve what they envision for themselves, and kind of steer it to support them.
All right, so that's empowering people.
Mm-hmm.
Carl, do you have any?
Yes, I was going to take 74 because I'm a cyclist, but I will take 72 as with the watch. And one thing I really enjoy about well-run Toastmasters meetings is the discipline of the timing. And so I think in a Toastmasters perspective, leadership is convincing people, motivating people to show up on time. Ideally, if the meeting starts at 7, everyone should be there at 10 to 7. People should sign up for their roles on time, and then of course the timing. So I think timing is very very important, and it's nice that Toastmasters meetings are a lot more structured than other corporate meetings that I've experienced.
So the aspect of timing and expectations, and we are all in this together, comes in there. Lotte, do you have something to share? A picture speaks out to you.
I was choosing between 24 and 75, but I'll choose 24, and that's creating a team together. So doing it together.
So there's a community aspect.
Yes.
In there. Next on my screen, Julius.
I think I would connect leadership to image number 4 with the beams connected to one another. And I say that because for me, leadership at its most basic definition is simply inspiring some action towards a particular goal in people. And I think that can manifest itself in many different forms, which we have all been going through. But I think the key word for me is definitely inspiration. because many people, I think, walk on a fine line where they border transactionality, where it's almost people just holding contracts against one another. But for me, what defines leadership is the ability to really bring people towards a certain shared values that drive them towards a shared goal. And so the beams in that way then connect other people that you might have not talked to, but because you talk to somebody else and inspire them towards that change, you proliferate an idea.
Let's see, inspiration, connectivity plays in as well. Thomas, is there any picture that resonates?
I think one important point is change, and I would link it to the picture 34. So I think the stones could be the employees, and the hand is throwing all the employees in the market or in the world, and every moment the situation between everyone is changing. The market is having an impact of you, the competition has an impact. So the only constant is the change. Like already 500 BC, Heraclius told us the only constant is the change. And I think it's very much fitting to all the rocks in the air floating, and the good leadership makes sure that everyone is landing safely and pulling in the right direction together. So give them purpose, and this with emotional intelligence.
So change and variation, also part adapting to the changing environment and what we're doing. And finally, I have Graham on the screen.
I like photo 41, leading a team in a team sport is a matter of getting people towards a common goal by making the plans and guiding and unifying, integrating a bunch of people with many different skills. That's it.
Yeah. Making use of the skills that people have, putting them in the position and empowering them to do what is best, contribute to the team. And Malta, I saw you joined us as well.
Thank you, Alexander. It is a very creative question. I want to choose 18. If you remember our leader, one of leader, Metaxia, if you have a LinkedIn connection, I strongly advise. Sometimes leader focus on with team, focus on something special, members' needs. Sometimes leader should go outside and see landscape and put some important strategical targets. So sometimes we need to focus, sometimes we look very widely, sometimes 360 degrees. So I never forget Metaxia's point of view, and I strongly agree with leadership. Understand the members' needs. Over to you, Alexander.
All right, thank you. I hope I haven't skipped over anybody who did not have the chance. Otherwise, raise your hand quickly.
No, you've done them all, Alexander. Good. Yeah.
But you see, it was the same question to all of you. What is leadership? And you take inspiration from the different pictures, which I could have shown just for any question, basically. And there are all these different aspects that come together. So it's a very loosely defined project, and what works in one situation might not work in another. I want to move forward to present the idea of story-driven leadership to bring a narrative approach into how you run your club. So in the next few slides, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I understand about story-driven leadership, and how that might be different from what is done in many clubs, and see if it connects to any of the ideas that you had before. The general theme is think about being a movie director and what is the environment that you want to paint? What actors do you need? What tools do they have? And then see how the scene unfolds. Because sometimes we need a different perspective or different tools, just like we have here in the picture. It's not a matter of getting a better, I believe it's a Allen key. But what we need to solve this problem is a screwdriver. So sometimes it's of use of not just sharpening your tools and becoming better and better, but looking out in the broader environment. What else could I try out? And then see if it fits to the situation. And the thing I want to distinguish here is leadership from operations. We all have some responsibilities as club officers or district officers. Certain things need to be done to make it go smoothly in our clubs, and I would call all of this operations. That is making sure the things that are supposed to be done also gets done. And it involves working with people, say for example at a Toastmaster meeting. You're not doing it alone. If you're vice president of education, you have the responsibility of organizing the meetings, but it's then not you on stage counting all the R's, being grammarian, holding speeches and evaluating yourself, but it's getting people to come to the meeting, take the roles and participate in it. Leadership, on the other hand, it has some overlaps on that we want sometimes a certain outcome to have happened, but it's taking people on a journey. And oftentimes it's a journey where we don't exactly know what we will find. So it's about providing a growth and learning opportunity for people. And I think that's what most people actually come to Toastmasters for. They want to learn public speaking, communications, but it's often not, I just have this checklist of 5 things I want to know. Most people in my home club, they come because they have this vague idea, if I get better at public speaking, maybe there's an initial incident where they got promoted to a new job. They can access parts of their career where they weren't ready before, or connect with new people, go to different kinds of events and then see what happens. So it's always this exploration that I believe drives the curious mind. And I want to use this framework also for how we do leadership in Toastmaster clubs. Common problem I found when I was in various club officer roles is that there's always something going on. We always need people to help out. And many times it's new members who don't exactly know what's happening. We often have this problem, for example, at club elections, when we look for volunteers and then it will be announced who wants to be the secretary for the next year. Then the question is, what really does the secretary do? And you can give a checklist or a manual from Toastmasters that people read, but you don't really understand it unless you really have done it. So it's more of a call to an adventure of figuring it out. And I've never seen a bad secretary in our club. Everybody who puts their heart to it can manage it. And the same goes for VPE. If you're curious and try out different things, and it will go on. But there's constantly things running around, and providing this opportunity, keep people motivated, providing meaning to it, and not just, I want you to do this, is what I believe can sometimes encourage people to step beyond what is comfortable and then just see how it unfolds and what they get out of it. And my experience is that everybody comes out with new skills and is in general grateful for having taken the opportunity. For example, what you see in your club, we have all the different club officer roles represented here, from presidents, public relations, I have heard, secretaries, VPEs. And you see in your club, it's probably very similar as we have it in my club in Zurich. As presidents talking about the district news, some new contests coming up. The VPE is busy getting Toastmasters of the evening signed up and confirming the educational awards and motivating people to do speeches. The contest chair needs volunteers, and then is also asked on the area contest to provide a few people to help. Then new members come and they need to be onboarded, and new mentors need to be assigned. Maybe there's a survey of expectations going on at the start of the new year or the new Toastmaster year. Somebody's looking for the next EC. So there's so many things where people are constantly bombarded with all kinds of requests, and embedding it somehow in who we are as a club and what we want to do might be something that brings more clarity to it. So I want to present now a framework that we probably have heard about from creating and crafting speeches. And I believe this can also be about acting out our leadership, and that is the narrative arc. Have you heard about this from storytelling? I see some no's. Then let me go through it. If you think about any story or fairy tales, it always starts with an exposition. What is the landscape, the world that we live in? It briefly lays out what are the rules that work here. Sometimes it's a fantasy setting or a sci-fi setting. So we have new technology that we, as the viewers or readers, are not familiar with, or there's magic happening in the world that follows certain rules. Who are the important people? What is the social structure of the actors? It's all part of the exposition. Then there's some initial incident, some problem that arises, a dragon that needs to be fought, some evil witch living in a tower, or Hansel and Gretel are suddenly in the dark and cold forest, needing to find some food. And it becomes more and more intense. So we are confronted with a problem, and there's the rising action to the climax. So if you take the fairy tales of Hansel and Gretel or Little Red Riding Hood, it's how it gets more and more intense, and suddenly the most intense problem, the kids in the Hansel and Gretel are imprisoned by the witch in the gingerbread house, or the wolf has just eaten the grandma and is about to eat Little Red Riding Hood as well. And somehow this needs to be solved. So the intensity scales down again. We find some solution, something unexpected happening that resolves the situation, but we don't go back to the starting point. We have learned something, we have experienced something, there's a message embedded in it. And if you watch the Pixar movies or the Disney movies, you find there's always this hero cycle going on, where in the end you overcome all the challenges, get the reward, fight the big bad guy, and in the end we have some wrap up of what are the lessons learned. This might be implicit in the stories, but there are usually some morals that you might also want to pass on. And I put it here in a different shade of blue because that can serve as the exposition, the new environment. for the next step. Now, if you think about our club, we have certain problems, skills, the people in there. And the thing here is, how can we put it together so it's a story that is compelling for everybody to participate in it? Not everybody has the same ambitions. Some people join because they have an immediate problem to solve. Some people are at Toastmasters because that's a friendly, supportive environment. I've seen in my home club people leave after 2 years because they have achieved their goals. Then we have some people who are with Toastmasters for multiple decades, so it will also change over time. The difference here with this narrative arc is we don't plan out how things will go, but it's providing a meaning and story for the people to actually participate in it. So there are certain things in the Toastmaster year where this needs to happen. And I found this is usually not very enticing for people if you just say, I need this to happen. But putting people like in a movie scene, different actors in there and giving them the permission to try something out, to overcome a challenge, then figuring out what are the learning experiences, because a lot of things I believe are really things we have to experience to learn it. So this is a framework to think about how can we set people up to do something instead of telling them what needs to be done. And I believe this applies especially to situations where we don't know ahead of time what the outcome or the learning should be. New members who come to it, who are in there for the adventure and the journey, where we don't need to script out this and this and this and this, make a plan, but let people experience what it is to be a contest chair, for example, or be on DEC. And if you think back about the most valuable memories or challenges in your past, I don't think it was working through a checklist. It was you had some problems, some obstacles, and somehow at the end you overcame them. So want to make sure when we have a club, we combine it in a single narrative. Maybe it's a slogan, something like, we are a place where we go on a journey of self-improvement, or we are the experts at public speaking, or something like this. And focusing not on the outcome, but on the journey and encouraging people to be part of it, giving them an identity of, let's do this, and also giving them the tools, of course. So don't assign somebody as contest chair and say, here you go, but see what do the people need and help them out with it. And sometimes the checklist is what they need, but don't stealing the learning opportunity from people. In the end, leadership deals with people, and that I believe is providing opportunities, also providing advice, tools that are needed. And this means keeping the communication going in there. Looking at the time, I also want to give you the opportunity to talk a little for yourself. I believe we have 20 more minutes, unless there are some formalities at the end that you need to do, Harry. I
only need about 2 or 3 minutes at the end, Alexander.
I would invite you to join the Jamboard to start with what I called exposition. Where is your club? What challenges you have? To put it.
Can you drop that URL into the chat?
Yes, I will
Yeah.
Put the link in the chat. And I believe all of you are on a laptop. aren't you? Does it work, or is it now a picture? It's a picture.
It's a
just a
picture right
picture.
now, yeah.
I don't know how.
The link works for me.
Oh, you've got a link just above it, haven't you?
Ah,
Yeah, that works.
okay. Good. I don't know why it gets converted to a picture. The mysteries of the online world. I want to cut it short a little bit, maybe give you something like, let's say, 2-3 minutes to put some notes on the slides about the challenges that you see in your club. Maybe you already had some achievements in your role, or you know from the past in your club, something that you're really proud of that works well, that you got good comments on from your visitors, for example. Maybe some obstacles that you had in the past and that you overcame. And then
Can you give some idea of how this is supposed to work? I mean, I click somewhere and can I write, or what should I do?
Yeah, so if you're on the Jamboard,
I'm not familiar with this tool.
On the Jamboard, on the left, you should have the icons of a pencil, an eraser, post-it notes. Do you see those?
Yes.
And if you click it, you can, for example,
Can
make a note.
Can you share your screen for a moment, Alexander, and just illustrate?
Oh. Do you see it now?
Okay.
Or is it still the PowerPoint?
No, you've got your Jamboard on board. It's fine.
Okay. So you should see something like this. Here, for example, you take the notes, type something, save it, and it will appear here, and you can move it around and put these post-it notes up.
Clear enough, Rene?
Yeah.
Does that work for you? And up here are different frames. So this is about the challenges. And I hope this gets you thinking a little bit. Okay, I put it over here. About where are you? What is unique about your club? And every challenge, as they say, is also an opportunity. To learn something new. While you're putting something, I sort them a little bit because they all seem to be appear on the same at the same position. I'm sorting them a little bit by topics. Yeah, I see some people are also putting something on the second page, which is about the leadership achievements. Then I'll give you 2 more minutes and then go through it a little bit before we then have a small discussion. Right, I put it on the screen. You probably also have it on yours. But this way you can probably all join back to the Zoom and still see what we're talking about. I hope you can see it, read it with the challenges. I find it interesting. There's a lot of things about getting new members, but then we also have one club that looks like too many members, apparently. There's somebody who wrote that want to share a little bit about that.
Yeah, I wrote that, Alexander. I'm part of Zurichberg, and I think at some point, probably heading in the same direction. We had more than 60 members last year. We did have a bit of a drop off in April, which was probably a good thing, in the sense that people moved on, so there was a bit more room. But it does mean that members can only speak approximately once every third, maybe fourth meeting. What we have done, and this is one way to overcome the challenge, is we've become more flexible in our programming and things, so that on some evenings we have maybe 6, 7 speeches and no table topics. And then on other evenings, if there are fewer members, such as round about your holiday peak times, you find that there are fewer people coming forward to do speeches because they're away for holidays and things, you might end up with only 3 people doing speeches, and we can catch up on the table topics and things. So just it becomes more difficult, and it also means people are taking much longer to reach those level 1s, level 2s, and then completing paths and things. So it's a programmatical issue, basically.
Yeah. So you see that
you've got a similar problem at Top Notch at the moment, haven't you?
We have a lot of new members. We never had something like 7 or 6 speaking slots, so we go for maximum 3 speeches per night, and always have the table topics. And if need be, we do a speech marathon, which is a meeting with just speeches and evaluations, for example. But we are far away from having too many members.
When we had this problem a while before, and now I make lots of opportunities for them to speak outside the club. That is, there are lots of talk sessions, panel sessions, even debates, philosophy cafes, and so on, organized by other organizations. And I can sometimes get a Toastmaster and an evaluator to be present, And if the VP Education agrees, then this counts then for their session. Path.
Yeah, so that's a creative solution. And
does that work? Sorry, Alexander, does that work for new members?
Yes, it's still needing evaluated because some of these sessions are very informal, like a travel topic on where you've been over the last holidays. Come and talk 10 minutes about it. And if a member can say, oh yeah, that could work for me, then they're welcome to come and speak.
I'm sorry to cut you short there, but I also want to address the other pieces here. And we have the opposite problem of getting new members. And this is partly an operational problem. So getting guests, getting the word out that people actually know about the club. But then it's also a matter of why people come and providing them this opportunity that they feel welcomed and have something to do in your club. So I hope this idea of this story-driven leadership, what opportunities can we provide to people? What acting roles can we give them? There's the EC issue that seems to be common in many clubs, either finding officers or you have a lot of new members that don't exactly know what to expect, and then you need to fight through it. And I believe that is the learning opportunity. And maybe this is also a way where we don't exactly know what the outcome or the journey will be, but we have to work together to go through it and have these checkpoints of learning and see how it develops. And there's something about information and the new pathway system. Want to briefly also go to what your club is proud of. So that's growth in membership, the distinguished club points. So doing a lot of speeches, having your club officers go to the club officer trainings, the administrative process, growing the club, overcoming challenges like having a small board and still making it going, the quality meetings, and some obstacles or to have overcome is planning ahead, also including visitors, having this flexibility. Workshops also seems to be about planning ahead and having a club identity there. As I said in the beginning, this workshop here is not so much about giving you a checklist or tools about how to solve those problems, but rather a different approach. So I come to the conclusion here. Something to think about, how to get engagement by providing people a journey on which they can learn and communicating that clearly what is the growth opportunities that they find, letting them know that there are challenges ahead of time and that we're willing to work with them together. So instead of thinking which challenges do we need to overcome, maybe the right approach is to think which people do I need to put in the places so they can have the learning opportunity, contribute to the club, which tools do I need to give them, rather than focusing on the outcome, focus on how do I need to set up for the system to work properly. And that is a matter of making the initial status diagnosis. Where are we? Where do we believe we can be? And then figuring out what are the tools, the actors, the people that we have and how they can contribute the best. And I found that to be quite fulfilling if people are appreciated for what they do well and given the opportunity instead of just be given a mission. The two phrases I want you to take away here is think like a movie director when you decide how you want to do leadership in your club. And sometimes you need a new tool or a new perspective rather than just repeating what has been done before or getting more intense about something, trying the same tool instead. And I hope it also gave you something to take home. I don't know how it will be done by the organizers here. If they promised you something in terms of slides, as far as I'm concerned, I can send them to you if you're interested. You have the link to the Gem board, so that will stay active. You can still look around, have a read more than just the 2-3 minutes that we had just now. And with that, like to thank you for giving me this opportunity to share, and I hope it was also enjoyable for you, despite it be the 11th hour for some of you, or the 12th hour. So I wish you all the best in the upcoming sessions.
You should come and join us, Alex. Thank you,
I have to work afterwards.
Thank you very much. If you want to